Why are all of the artists at TDE so unhappy? You got some of the best artists in the West there.
TDE is one of the most prolific record labels in modern hip-hop. An Interscope-backed record company, they were once so prominent that in 2017, they captured 4.72% of the overall market share in R&B and hip-hop. What's crazy is that this was in a year where all they released was Kendrick Lamar's Damn and SZA's Control, but it hasn't all been plain sailing, as now a lot of their artists are either nowhere to be seen, fading into commercial irrelevance, or in Kendrick's case, left a Californian label behind to pursue their own path. And now the future of the company looks unclear, with a lot of that turbulence potentially coming to a head and leaving several careers in jeopardy. It's your boy Louaista, and this is where TDE signees are at right now, starting with the first flagship artist they ever had. As soon as you walked in the door of TDE's first studio, it had the following list written on the wall: charisma, personality, swagger, substance, lyrics, uniqueness, work ethics. These were all the required characteristics to be signed to the label, and they are values which are held by Watts' own J-Rock. After first getting noticed by the label's Anthony Top Dog Tiffith in their neighborhood, Jay took a little convincing to finally get on board. Top recalled in an interview that, "J-Rock is from my hood, Nickerson Gardens. I was chasing him around and he hide, thinking I'm trying to discipline him about some bullshit. I finally caught him while he was getting a haircut. Yo, you rap? I'm trying to do this shit. Let's go." After becoming the label's inaugural artist, J-Rock signed the joint venture with Warner Bros. And Asylum, which soon had him collabing with Lil Wayne, will.i.am, and more. But that all soon came to a halt. And after another contract with Tech Nine's Strange Music, he released his debut album, Follow Me Home, in 2011, and has essentially been TDE's most reliable lieutenant ever since. As a result, he has been universally praised by his teammates.
I like to describe him as a humble beast. When I first heard him, it was just like, damn, this dude is raw.
That voice that he got is just like an instrument on its own. You're gonna take to that off top before you even hear what he's talking about.
But while K-Dot was originally his hype man, J-Rock has long since been eclipsed by his little brother on TDE. After 90059 landed him his first trip onto the top 20, his following Project Redemption, which was recorded after a near-fatal motorcycle crash, looks set to be his breakout project. And in some ways, it was. But it still left him peaking at number 13 on the charts. Yet, even with the momentum he got from tracks like Win, Jay has done anything but capitalize. 7 years on from the release of Redemption, his fans are still waiting for a new release. And as you'll see, this is a recurring theme when it comes to TDE artists. Although he seemed to be launching the campaign for a new album with singles such as Eastside and Too Fast with Lotto among others, J-Rock fans are still no further forward in getting a release date. And by the sounds of it, he's still striving for perfection.
But I really like the fact that you're one of the best storytellers out there.
No, I appreciate that,
so
bro.
I'm assuming the next project you're gonna be, I know you got the singles out there to get, the buttons pressed, but the storytelling J-Rock that we know is that returning?
Yes, it's returning for sure, man. I got a few records like that on the album, so man, make sure y'all, like I said, when it drop, man. And that's the thing, man. I'm just trying to put forward another project. When I dropped Redemption, everybody was in love with Redemption. So with this one, I want to make it where it's no skips. You feel me? I want people to really ride to it and don't have to skip a song.
But some fans are more skeptical, as while he has posted and suggested he was working on new music, they feel like there's some internal turmoil that's stopping him from producing a full project. There's a rumor that he's been trying to get independent of Interscope, which was summed up by a user who said, "My theory is that TDE and J-Rock want to do a different sound from Redemption, but Interscope wants to try and squeeze one more anthem out of him." With that, it appears that Jay is struggling to square his creative vision with that of the label that he signed a co-venture with for Redemption. However, one TDE star that isn't having the same problem is his black hippie brother, Schoolboy Q. Although he's known as one of the more elite spitters in the game today, Schoolboy Q had an unconventional route into music. Because if it weren't for his friend Mixed by Ali getting a career-ending football injury that turned him to a producer in TDE's camp, then he might have never got his shot.
I'm finishing up the season or whatever, and I'm getting into music around this time, and he tapped into TDE through like MySpace, and was like, "I'm an engineer and I'm trying to pull up," basically, that football shit is over with. You know what I mean? Like, I'm an engineer. I'm just trying to pull up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And Punch responded and was like, yeah, pull up. And like I said, we was boys and I was just getting into it. And he was just like, pull up with me. And I just pulled up with him and they had like a random beat on and I just cracked to it. I was barely, this only like maybe my 6th time rapping. And I just cracked to it and Punch was like, yo, come back. And I was like, oh, all right, for sure.
Initially, Q didn't think much of his skills, claiming, I was terrible. I just got good like 2 years ago. But from setbacks all the way through to Habits and Contradictions, Oxymoron, and the landmark Blank Face LP, Q grew into an icon. However, he still remained in the shadow of Kendrick, regularly taking issue with requests about a Black Hippie album in interviews.
I mean, everybody keep asking that question. Y'all been asking that question for like 4 years and we ain't even, like, come on, man. I don't know, man. I can't say that. I'm already working on the next joint already. Like, I already been working on the next joint. It's just like, I don't see the time. And it's just for us to stop. Like, people don't understand when you're working on an album, you get into a groove. It's hard to stop that groove and that zone you in and that vision you got to jump onto a whole new thing and restart from a blank sheet, basically. You know what I mean? Because we don't just put albums out and call it something and it's just a bunch of dope songs. Like, everything we do over there, it's like a concept. We never sat down and was like, oh, we all gotta do concept. It's just something that we all done as an artist. That's why we click so much. We're all pretty much the same mellow dudes and we're all like focused on our craft and on conceptual shit. So I can't say that we'll be in the studio getting a Black Hippie album ready.
Following the Blank Face LP, Groovy Q is at the top of his game. However, his momentum was about to be upended when he lost a dear friend in Mac Miller.
To this day, I don't understand how I can't call my nigga no more. Like, innocent soul, like losing a friend to gangbanging is way different from losing a friend that's like an innocent little kid that's just super pure. Like.
Explain that, because I'm sure you've dealt with death before, Mac.
You expect it.
Okay.
You expect it.
Gotcha.
The other thing is it comes with it. But this was like...
You remember your last conversation with him?
Yeah, bro, it was over FaceTime. He was in the studio, man. Like, it was crazy. I played him Crash Talk before he passed.
This led to the delay to the release of his 5th album, Crash Talk. And while it scored 81,000 in first week sales, it was widely regarded as the weakest album of his career, with reviewers saying things like, though Crash Talk contains a few moments of brilliance, it is easily the flattest album in Q's catalog. Much like J-Rock, the release of this project led to a lengthy hiatus between projects. Although he later admitted that the album that eventually emerged could have come out sooner from a lyrical standpoint, it's just that he couldn't find the production he wanted.
Yeah, it was like pretty much done in 2021, but I didn't like all the production on it so much. And then I was just like, I want to make it sound like, you know, like this. And I pretty much made it the way I wanted to make it sound. But I wasn't tripping on like time and shit. Plus it was just right after COVID, during the COVID time. I had just got off tour 2020 and I was like, do I really want to do this again right now? Like go back out, like, you know what I'm saying? And then I'm not gonna be moving around. Like dropped the album from the crib. I didn't really live. So most of the lyrics were written in 2021, but things were changed, like certain pockets, certain pieces of the lyric. Yeah, but the bass was there.
When it eventually dropped in 2024, Blue Lips became one of the most acclaimed records of the year, being cited by many as the best hip-hop album that dropped that entire year. So that shelf life likely cushioned the blow of the 34K first week sales that were his lowest since 2011's Setbacks. But it's fair to say that Q, the golf-loving girl dad who raps when the mood strikes, doesn't seem too bothered. However, make sure you don't play with Top or TDE's name, because Q is definitely a company man, with the rapper defending the label from accusations that it stunts the growth of its artists.
I thought it was like, 2020, I'm like, okay, we getting Schoolboy. I thought it was like how TDE roll a music out. I'm like, maybe it got stopped because of how TDE roll a music out.
Look, that's a thing too. Motherfuckers gotta stop that. I think we just like cuckoo in the head, bro, and I think we all got similarities in the shows. Zay didn't drop in 5 years. I didn't drop in 5 years. SZA didn't drop in 5 years. I think we have something in common, and it's not Top. I don't see how he gains anything. Like Top is like my pops I never had. So like I'm going nowhere, but we gonna be arguing like a motherfucker if you making me wait 5 years in between albums, and it's not by my choice.
However, it is clear that for whatever reason, there are plenty of artists on TDE's roster who have felt the pain of a fall off. And this is naturally where the story of Ab Soul comes in. A member of the TDE roster since 2007, Ab-Soul has been pushing hard in the game ever since his long-term mixtape series. A rapper that left a young Kendrick Lamar in awe, there was a long time where Ab-Soul was regarded as the finest spitter in the entire crew. And with projects like Long-Term Mentality and Control System, Solo looked like he was going to emerge as the breakout star of the crew. But sometime around 2014's These Days, which was his highest charting project, it seemed like TDE began to lose faith in him. And by 2016, he lashed out about it on Twitter where he stated, "Appreciate everybody that's been supporting me for the long term. I'm trying, man. I'll be ready when my number's called. This bench is getting warm as fuck though, man." And while 2016's Do What Thou Wilt provided more of his incredible esoteric rhymes, it marked the beginning of a slide down the charts that would deepen by the time he next released an album. From 2016 to 2022, the public essentially heard nothing from Soul except from the occasional single. But it turns out that a project was supposed to drop 5 years ago.
You know, we was gonna drop in 2020, but you know, the pandemic, of course, and I wasn't just about to drop an album just to stream. You know, I need to go out and feel the effect, you know, feel the people, touch the people, you know, shake hands and really feel the reception. Well, like I was saying, like it's performing for me, you know, recording is one thing, like, you know, writing, creating is one thing, is one craft, recording is another craft, performing is a whole nother craft. So
over time, Soul reconsidered his approach, simplifying the formula and going back to bars.
That's exactly what this album is about. It's about like going, it's nostalgic. It's about getting back to the root of it. You know, we did more with less. It's getting back to the foundation. Like, that's why it's like simply called Herbert. It's simply my name. It's simply about that, like what it took to get to this point. Like, and I felt like I was getting too far away from that. You know, I was just becoming this character even, you know, I was becoming Ab-Soul.
Right.
Versus, you know, this album is for the people who will never call me Ab-Soul. That I'm still Herb. I'm still Lil Herb. I'm still Herbert. It's for those people.
And while 2022's Herbert was a renowned project, it was almost released far too late. As in an interview with Charlemagne, Ab-Soul admitted that he nearly took his life in pursuit of curing his vape addiction before it was released.
I recorded the majority of the album before I pretty much finished the album before I did what I did. How I'm choosing to take it is, and I'm not giving it credit, but it brought me down to a place where I needed to be as vulnerable as possible. You get what I'm saying? And as soon as I said everything I needed to say, I jumped.
And while he escaped with his life, the fall he took has resulted in permanent damage. But with it, Solo has gained a new perspective.
I lost my teeth. I ain't even got this is a flipper. It's not even I ain't even got my implants yet. My jaw's fucked up. Like, I got a lot of work to do still. But my foot is completely reconstructed. All the way to my pelvis, everything but my knee. If my knee would have, it doesn't even make sense that my knee wasn't affected. My femur, everything was affected except my knee. If my knee would have been affected, I might not be walking.
How tall?
I did not get any brain damage. I jumped off a freeway overpass, man. It was about 50 feet.
Wow.
I think a car broke my fall. No brain damage. It just, this guy, like, that was, all right, bro. Now sit down and shut up. Take it all in, like, relax. You blessed, man.
Unfortunately, this new lease on life has coincided with Soul venturing back to the underground that he came from. And now, Herbert and its 2024 follow-up Soul Burger have both failed to chart. But there is hope. After all, he is more prominent than ever in terms of routinely releasing music, and most importantly, his unique approach means that he's still getting love. Favorite rapper since 2012. Let me say this, best rapper alive. For Solo, it looks like he needs a second wind in the commercial stakes for him to get back to where he rightfully deserves to be. Meanwhile, the first lady of TDE has no such issues, even if it feels like she's been at war with her manager for years. First spotted while she was working at a merch booth in New York, SZA's early buzz on the independent circuit would eventually translate into a major deal with TDE. And when she first signed, she was so full of optimism.
Honestly, just like a blessing. Like, it's literally the craziest thing that could ever happen to me. So I'm just blessed to be a part of all of this and watch them all like do what they do and grow with them.
Just moving forward, you know, you've already dropped songs like Teen Spirit, you dropped EPs and everything. Like, so what's next? Is the full body of work? Do you have something that's already coming?
I've been recording in LA for like a month and a half, and Z is done. Like, the next project is done. Working on some really cool features that I wish I could say, but some really interesting stuff.
But after being left on the shelf from the release of 2014 Z, the R&B starlet began to vent her frustrations with the circumstances she was in, to the point that she tried to bail out of her contract entirely, tweeting, "I actually quit. Punch can release my album whenever he feels like it. Y'all be blessed." Understandably, this shocked her fans, who pleaded with her to reconsider. But as for Punch, he clearly didn't take her seriously, responding with a dismissive LOL. And basically, this would set the scene for what was to come. Finally released in 2017, her debut album made her an instant sensation, validating not only what she knew she was capable of, but TDE's A&R skills. And from there, she later suggested that the delay to Control was on her.
How many years since your first project?
4, 3.5.
3.5 years? And why so long in between?
I have no idea. It was an accident. I didn't realize that I was gone this long. I was just in my head. I was lost.
You smoke?
Yes.
So you was smoking?
No. I was living. Like, 3 of my homies died. My nana died. Hella family members died. Like, it randomly. And I also, like, I got sick a gang of times in between there. Like, I was trying to figure out, like, my body was, like, on strike for me. Then my anxiety just got wild crazy. And I just could only be in the studio and, like, only be with my friends. And, like, I just stopped being in the world, I guess. We were just, like, adventuring and making music and traveling.
You also...
However, this was another scenario in which TDE put a stop to any further projects being dropped, and were basically going back to their same old tricks. After she frustratedly tweeted about the sophomore record or any new music coming out, it literally sparked a Free SZA campaign that led to a lot of hate towards Punch. At times, she did try to smooth it over, but behind the scenes, she continued to sound off on the delays of the album that would eventually become 2022's SOS.
Yes, my mind, and it's like, why? What happened? They just called me and it's like, oh, I think we need to move the album back to the top of the year. After I put so much time and energy into all this shit for me, and was like I just want to get everything the most time, like, to do well, and I'm thinking, he's like, because everything shuts down on holiday. We already talked about that. We talked about that. Everything shuts down on holiday. So we would be raw dogging it, but we dropped Good Days on Christmas. It was #1 globally on all streaming. That's Spotify, Apple, everything for like more than a week. So it's like, and nothing had ever done that before. Everything's done. The album art is done. The cover art is done. The vinyl pack is done. The merch is done. Everything, the music is done. The track list is done. The mixing was happening while we were doing it. The mixing is done. It's mastered. Everything is done.
Once again, it was a massive success, as was its deluxe version, Lana. And because of how resoundingly well her music does every time she drops, you would think that she and Punch would be at peace. 7 million units in 2 years, shaking my head. It's never about the numbers to me, it's always about the music, but this is nuts. However, the conflict has continued to rage, and their love-hate dynamic has continued to take twists and turns in 2024, to the point that it looked like Punch briefly quit as her manager. It seems like he's back in control now, while SZA, who's gearing up for a huge tour with Kendrick Lamar this year, might already be imagining the day that she can step away from music for good. To fulfill my last 2 album requirements, I think I just want to make peaceful children's music and get out of here. And realistically, who could blame her? While it's all still chaotic, it seems that, at least for now, she and her manager are back on the same page, with SZA even recently tweeting Punch was right. For SZA, it was clear that no matter how much trouble she caused, they were never gonna cut ties because the occasional rift was outweighed by how much cash she made them. However, in the case of 1MC, this didn't always seem like the case. Back when he first signed with TDE, Isaiah Rashad had all the buzz in the world. Riding high off the release of the lauded Sylvia demo, it really looked like he was next up. But he got in his own way, as around that time he first tasted fame, he dealt with major struggles with addiction.
Explicitly, I got off Oxymoron tour kind of addicted to Xanax and alcoholic.
And an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Isaiah. But I was there for the beginning of that tour.
And then I went to Europe for 2 months.
Oh.
And I went on tour without nobody really looking at me. Not looking at me, it's not like I wasn't being looked after. I just did what I wanted to do.
And what you wanted to do at that time was
be like everybody around me. Like all the little rap niggas or whatever I'd see.
There were some guys doing some stuff that was not necessarily advisable.
But that ain't on them, that's on me.
Over time, things got so bad that he almost lost his label deal during a spell opening for Schoolboy Q's tour.
I fucked up pretty bad. I almost got dropped like 3 times. I was too stressed out like all the time, and I kept like popping pills, kept fucking drinking.
Damn.
Like I wake up, I rap, I write raps every morning.
Right.
But like moving from it. We talked about it a little bit before, like, you know what I'm saying, just it becoming a professional, whatever. Like I had access to shit that I didn't have before, so.
As he kept endangering himself, the gifted MC had to venture to rehab.
Sent me home from the squad.
Oh, he put you on the bench.
Yeah, you ain't heard from me.
Nope.
You ain't heard me drop shit until I got my shit together.
Nope. He's on punishment. Yeah, but
I got my shit together a little bit. Nelly came out. Got my shit together a little bit. Smile came out.
So they're just giving you little by little.
No, I got my shit together.
Now you feel good.
I got my shit together. I'm cool. Like I'm ain't nobody cool. Like I was addicted to some shit. So it's like ain't like I'm. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I don't think about it every once in a while. I think about anything I was doing. I just know I got a bigger goal to do, and I got examples of what the outcome of that shit is. And I just don't want to be one of them niggas. Especially when you coming from Chattanooga, you come from a small ass city. And so when you not doing some shit, like I could feel my clout go away. I like my clout.
And thankfully, when he reemerged, he did so with one of the best records of the year with The Sun's Tirade. Released in 2016, it was a record that really cemented him as an MC who could be a force for the future. But in typical TDE fashion, it would then be 6 whole years until he was back with another project. Another slew of substance abuse and other problems, which Isaiah once summarized in an interview with, "Hey, shit happens." 6 years on, The House is Burning, which is the first album he's recorded sober, emerged, and Isaiah had a real goal to make it something special. For new people, if they hadn't heard me before, I'd like them to walk away and be like, damn, he's good at making a lot of different stuff. If you've been a part of this shit, I'd want you to be like, damn, he gave me a good update on his life, and he's still giving me stuff that's going to help me during my day when I'm going through my own shit. Right now I'm hungry, in all honesty, he said before the album dropped. I'm kind of back on my base level where I don't know what's going on. I'm just happy to be doing it. I couldn't tell you for real how I felt. I'm kind of nervous. I'm kind of happy that stuff's happening again. Even beyond the pandemic, everything. I'm excited, but I'm just nervous. I'm always nervous before stuff comes out. When the album did emerge, it did so to a very polarized response. While some loved it, others felt it was a mixed bag of a project. But while that likely wasn't the career renaissance he was looking for, there were about to be bigger problems on the horizon. Namely, that he'd be left battling one of hip-hop's biggest cultural stigmas. From out of nowhere, a leaked tape would rock Isaiah's life and reveal that he was into guys as well as girls. The news shocked the internet, with the public divided on whether they felt sorry for him for being outed, while others felt that he had been deceptive. Fellow bisexual rapper and brother of Chance, Taylor Bennett felt a lot of empathy for him over how it went down.
But it's fucked up to out anybody. It's fucked up to feel that you have the control to dictate when somebody expresses themselves. And I think that that is a big issue with social media, because it's giving people access to say things about people without having to have a conversation. And it's also double-edged sword, because like I said, I came out on Twitter and I didn't have to tell my mom, dad, or my brother. I told them after I put that shit out.
Were they mad about that, by the way?
No, of course not. They were very happy.
But not everyone was so sympathetic.
Bro, if you gay, it's gonna come out. God gonna make that come out. God gonna make that come out for your choice. You just gotta ask for forgiveness. All sins are the same, though, but God gonna make that shit come out. You ain't gonna be in that closet. If you is in the closet, that shit, you coming out that fucking closet. Cause Mad Day, the one who fucked you, he gonna tell everybody he fucked you.
As for Isaiah himself, he broached the scandal head on, explaining exactly where he was really at.
So I have to ask you, for the people who didn't know, how do you identify today?
I'd say, I'm sexually fluid.
What does that mean?
Basically, I'm not in full control of when I walk into a room who I'm attracted to. But I'm more so attracted to a personality. I'm attracted sometimes to the intellect, and sometimes it's just being attracted to somebody.
In truth, he even saw it as a blessing in disguise.
Do you have a plan to take legal action?
I haven't even been thinking about it, man. Out of everything, it's been a blessing that with that happening and then my granddad dying and a couple of days afterwards and my grandma going through what she's been through, it's been a concentration of family together more than it had been before. So if anything, I can't be mad at everything about it.
This gained him plenty of well wishes from people who felt that he didn't deserve all this when it could detract from his career in artistry. Whoever leaked that shit is beyond fucked up. Most people would self-delete themselves from being outed in such a manner. I'm glad people supported him. This could have gone a whole different way. This man's music is all that matters. Let him do what he wanted. And while it likely made some people no longer roll with him in a close-minded way, his real fans are still pining for new music. and these days, he's hinting towards it. So now, his audience is excited, but still cautious that in typical TDE fashion, it might be a while till it actually emerges. Features, without a doubt. Single, maybe. Project, a man can wish. In Isaiah's case, he got millions of people waiting for his next release, even with the struggles he's faced. But that can't exactly be said for everyone on the roster, especially Lance Skywalker. Originally half of the Chicago hip-hop duo The Rocketeers, Lance Skywalker found himself on TDE afterwards and has worked with basically everyone on the label. However, he has a friend who was a manager at a Fairfax clothing store to thank for his deal. He asked me if I had something he could play at his store, so I gave him one of my last 2 beat tapes, the singer and producer told Billboard. 20 minutes later, Kendrick and the former TDE president Dave Free walked into the store, and I got a call saying Kendrick wants me to come back. He wanted to meet me. Ain't that crazy? Since then, many people at the label have been insistent about his greatness. Musically, Lance is like water, says the label's president Anthony Musa Tiffith Jr., and the son of Anthony Top Dog Tiffith. You can pour water into any container and it will take the form of wherever it's at. I feel the same thing about Lance. I can put him in any room, any place, anytime. He'll be in full form, just like water. And likewise, he's been enthusiastic about what the label offers to him. They're open to everything creatively, he says, which is dope because the new artists who I'm building with, through and outside of the label, they'll embrace. But despite everything that was said, what should have been his breakout project, the 2016 album Introverted Intuition, left fans cold. Still better known for guest appearances than anything else, his February 2023 album Audiodidactic and the muted response to it made it evident that no one's checking for it. And unfortunately, he's not the only one to suffer this fate. Signed in 2017, Zachary got his deal after his manager Musa, who again is the son of Top Dog, eventually made his father aware of his new prospect.
Yeah, Musa was just managing me for like almost 2 years before he even brought me to TDE.
Musa's managing you for 2 years prior?
Yeah, before he even brought me to Top.
Wow, wow. And look how it worked out.
Yeah, it worked out.
Look how it worked out, man.
Once he was on the label, his features on Isaiah Rashad's Is What's Wrong and Ab Soul's Raw Backwards established him as an artist who could deliver a sublime hook before Love from Damn brought him to the attention of the wider world. And then, well, basically nothing. After delivering various features from other TDE artists, Zachary got in his bag by discreetly penning tracks for other stars behind the scenes.
Who's like the biggest artist you wrote for?
I've written for a lot. There's not a lot comes out because you throw a lot of wide nets like in the songwriting.
I seen
you for a bunch of people. I've written for a bunch of people and not come out.
I seen you written some shit for like Usher. You and Usher.
Yeah, me and Usher, bro. Usher was one of the first bigger artists that I like. He was actually the first artist I ever even like wrote for or like opened or even thought about writing for someone.
Yeah.
Was with Usher.
How was that experience?
It was honestly a fucking trip, bro, because me and this fool ended up getting along so well, bro.
Yeah,
like we would literally just be chilling.
Yeah.
And in the absence of any album from him, Zachary became a go-to source when K-Dot isn't around, and there's a need to explain where he's at. Finally, Zachary dropped his debut album, Bliss, but it happened to land on the same day as Eminem's The Death of Slim Shady. So unless you were a hardcore Zachary fan, chances are you didn't even notice it. Even during interviews meant to promote the album, he spent more time talking about the Pop Out and K-Dot than his own work.
Their family, bro, Top and Dot and everybody, Q, all them, they've been through so much and grew together, grew up together. It's never no hate or ever disconnect between them.
Yeah, it was. Can you kind of speak to what it was like for you? Like how much did your life change being on Love?
Bro, it changed everything for me. Before that, I had like a few songs on SoundCloud, bro.
Yeah,
that changed everything for me. And to work with an artist like that off bat was so important, I think, too, to just even be able to be around him, to watch his process on what it takes to make an album, make hit records. His work ethic is insane.
Despite his excellent voice and clear knack for penning tracks, he just doesn't have the audience's attention. As a result, the video for his single, Give You Up, has only pulled in 13K views in a month. Now set to go on tour with Sir, let's hope that he can make some headway with the fans. And speaking of Sir, back in the day, this R&B singer first garnered a buzz with 2015's 7 Sundays. After he made waves online, TDE came calling, and Sir was immediately introduced to the family. In J-Rock's case, literally.
So I put out a project a couple years ago called 7 Sundays, and I released it through a friend of mine. His name is Kenny Fresh. He has a label in Portland. It's called Fresh Selects, and it did well. You know, we didn't really know what to expect from it. Put it on SoundCloud, put it on iTunes.
iTunes, you know, didn't shoot any visuals, just put the music out. And a couple months into us like putting it out, Kenny got a call from one of the managers at, you know, TDE at the time. And what was hilarious was Kenny's in Portland, I'm on 99th and Myrtle, and, you know, Dave was calling from Windmark. You know what I mean? So Kenny called me like, yo, I'm gonna give your number to Dave Free. He wants you to pull up to the studio. He called me like 5 minutes later, text me Windmark's address. I pull up, J-Rock's there, Dot's there, and Dave's there. And the first thing that anybody says to me is, nigga, we cousins. This fool J-Rock walks up to me and says that. What?
Brought into a record company that was firing on all cylinders, the singer admitted that he was faint by how much TDE had achieved and having to live up to that.
You know, it's very intimidating, man. And I mean, I've had to like really grow into myself a lot, you know, being around them. I mean, you ask anybody that's close to us, it's a Shark Tank. You know what I mean? You walking in the room, you better be ready. You better be on your stuff. Check your pants, check your shirt, make sure you ain't got no stains on nothing. Make sure
Lord,
you're
yeah.
The roast
all
beef.
that, man. So, you know, it's definitely intense, you know what I mean? And, you know, they don't hold back, you know, which is, I love that. I'm that type of person. I don't want you to lie to me.
Y'all
I
sharpen
want you
each
to tell
other
me
too.
exactly, you know what I mean? It makes you a better person if you have people around you that are extremely brutally honest.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
And by the time it get to us, it went through so many different channels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But rather than deal with this pressure, he wound up battling with an addiction that he channeled into the release of his new album, Heavy. And apparently, this came to a head when he had to go under the knife.
God kind of did it for me, forced my hand. I had a surgery that I had to go under anesthesia for, and they had to ask me like what I had done, like what drugs had you been on in the last 72 hours. And I had to write down my DOC. I don't say my DOC, I'm not gonna say it online.
Okay.
Because I don't give it power like that. But I had to write it down, and the doctor saw it and was like, oh, so you did this and this and this yesterday, huh? And my wife was sitting right next to me, and I was like, yes. And she found out that way. So after I woke up from surgery, that was the first conversation I had to have. This was 2021.
Wow.
And we checked in probably like 4 days after that, you know. And that was the beginning of the journey, man. And, you know.
With tracks from his 2019 album Chasing Summer like John Redcorn outperforming anything he's doing now, Sir is another artist on TDE who is struggling to catch up to the high point of their career, particularly when he's gotten lost in the shuffle amid the birth of a new generation for TDE. As he took more of a frontline role in the company, Musa began making signings and insisted it was a continuation of the early successes they had seen.
It's no formula for nothing. This Dolce, this Reason, this Cal, this Ray Vaughn, this 4 different personalities I'm gonna deal with. I'm learning from them the same way I learn and curate with the first 10 years of our label. The same thing Top will put on Q, Dot, Rock, I'm putting on them too.
But it's fair to say that it hasn't exactly panned out that way for everyone. I mean, just look at Reason. Signed in 2018 with a lot of hype, this Carson, California MC seemed intent on putting the label on his back. Yet, that never exactly happened. Launched with his debut album New Beginnings in 2020, not even a star-studded features list could help get that record any real traction. And for the next 3 years, he was basically placed on the sidelines before the release of his 2023 album Porches. And as it turned out, this would be his last release for the label. During an appearance on the podcast Back on Fig, things went very publicly awry with Musa just as he prepared to go on a press run.
It sounds like you don't want to be here, damn near.
Nah, I never said that. I said I would never do it no other way. Let's go viral since you want to do it. Come on.
Hey, let me start by saying this though, right here. Hey, T-Real, can you name me 10 Reason songs right now? You from LA, you a LA native. Can you name me 10 Reason songs right now?
No.
Why is that?
I have
Mac,
no fucking.
Mac, hey, hold on. Mac, you from the team, Mac. Can you name me 10 Reason songs?
Of course.
Honestly, name them.
No. It was a funny ass nigga. What's your
All I'm trying to say is, right, even when niggas say niggas came in at weird times, hey, Dave, my nigga, Doc, my nigga, I love them niggas. Dave never wanted us to sign Reason. He called him a substitute teacher.
Get your shit off, Moose.
Dot always said that Reason had talent. But it's gonna take more than just talent in this game right now, and everybody know that.
Soon after that, he fled the label. All the while, he insisted it was all love. But despite what he says, it doesn't truly appear to be, as clearly, he had his reservations about how it went down.
And I will say, like, even worse, like behind closed doors. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not a secret between me and Musa or at the label that, like, we want the same thing. We just have two different ideas of the path that we should take to get there.
Which is what happens at times.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, we have the same destination in mind. We just have two different paths in which we believe that we should get there. And it was just one of those things that it's like it shouldn't have. Even like with me, when I said, like, you want to have a conversation, you want to go viral. In hindsight, I'm so glad he said a conversation because there's so many things that me and him speak about behind closed doors. And at that moment with that alcohol in me, like, I would have been on that type of time also. And I just think it just would have been super, super nasty.
You would have said some things that today you would look back and
that
be like,
I would have looked back on immediately and be like, nah. Like, I actually said some things on there. Like, the only things I regret saying on there was I regret going into my relationship with SZA. I shouldn't have said I don't have a relationship with SZA, not because it's not true, but just because it's just certain details I didn't need to, like, speak on.
Yeah, everything's not for the public.
On top of that, his departure made it clear that they had officially cut ties with him.
But the first thing I thought was, oh fuck, it's his album release week, which means he may see more people from the label than he's ever seen in his life. Because that's the week you really have to work and see everybody, whether it be a release party, whether you're doing press, whether you go to the office. Like, what was that week like, just running into everyone from the label?
Yeah, that was like the weirdest part. But it ended up, that was what I thought was gonna be the weirdest part, but it ended up not being as bad. I had a release party, nobody showed up from the label. So that, like, for me was love.
Yeah, the release party you just had?
Yeah, the one I had one on Thursday.
And nobody from the label showed up?
My bad, Rayvon showed up. Shout out to Rayvon. Rayvon showed up. Nobody showed up.
He's the only person from TDE that showed up.
He's the only person from TDE that showed up. But I took it, and I know people are gonna take it however they take it. I took it as, you know, maybe niggas is just giving me space because they know how I am. That's how I took it. That's genuinely how I took it.
As a result, many felt like he was done dirty. Named 10 songs by Reason was a humiliation by the president of TDE, his own artist. It's disgusting. As a TDE fan, I'm disappointed. Reason is delusional to still believe anyone over there is family to him. Since leaving TDE, Reason has acted in ways that may suggest there's a bitterness at play towards the label. For starters, he seemed to be willfully adopting Drake's side during the beef between he and Kendrick Lamar. While he remained completely silent about K-Dot's contributions to the feud, Reason made a point of vocalizing his love for Drake's push-ups, declaring that, nah, this final production is crazy. After he was unsurprisingly reprimanded by the city of LA, he tried to claim that he just liked good production before revealing that he had been asking for a minute for his papers that formally released him from TDE. Now he is attempting to mount a return to the game, dropping the first single from his new project entitled I Love You Again alongside Bass, as well as the album's title appearing to hint towards a renewed love for hip-hop. The song itself has some bars that could easily be construed as alluding to the years spent on TDE, like when he said, ironic I recorded Trapped In while I'm trapped in, referring to his 2020 track with Boogie and Ab-Soul, and also discussing whether people screaming gang were really on his side. But where Reason's motion had all hit a standstill before he even left TDE for the independent grind, the same can't be said for others from his era of the label. Spitting since he was a youth, Rayvon found his way to TDE in 2020 and soon released his Peer Pressure EP. And straight away, he had big goals. As you can hear, the music is a completely different sound than what TDE fans are used to. I'm literally the disruption of TDE because first of all, I know people are like, why are you signing a dude that does autotune? Why are you signing someone that sounds a bit too industry? It's because most of the labels don't sound too industry, he continues. But me, I have a balance of keeping that industry sound, but keeping it at a high level of lyricism to the point that it's captivating. This is a sound that TDE fans aren't always invited to because they don't want to hear that. Hoping to become the leading artist on the label and really taking the ball, Ray has worked with everyone from NLE Choppa to getting a Pusha T feature on Problems, a track that he then performed at the Pop Out. And while that certainly gave him a boost, Ray truly staked his claim to the audience's attention with Crash Out Heritage, a response to Joey Badass's The Ruler's Back, where he makes it clear that the West is nothing to play with. On that track, he took advantage of an opportunity and ran with it. And for the artist who's really emerging as TDE's first new star in recent years, that's something she's done incredibly well too. At the moment, it's fair to say that Doechii is the first next great hope.
When I first signed her in 2021, I was able to see what everybody's seeing in the room right now. Just how incredibly talented she is and just how versatile she is. She has such a huge belief in herself and such a huge belief in her vision that it made me believe in her too. I believed in it so much, I convinced my cousin to not move into his brand new apartment and allow Doechii to move in so that she could stay and not go back to Florida. But more importantly, just as I got to know her, I was able to see just what motivated her and just how much she strives and her will to be the best version of herself, not just as an artist, but as a young black woman. It might sound a little cliche when I say this, but you can be the most talented person in the world, and if you don't have the motivation or the right intentions or the work ethic, then it means nothing. But Doechii checks every box.
Emerging from the swamplands of Florida, Doechii came into the game with a whole host of a particular energy.
They call me BDD. It stands for Big Doechii because I sometimes tend to come with a huge, erect, big energy, and my just won't go down. So sometimes people have to physically make way for my big dick, and that's Big Doechii. And once it's up, it's stuck.
After killing it on her early mixtapes, Doechii finally got a hit in the form of What It Is, Block Boy, alongside Kodak Black. But even then, she encountered the usual creative struggles to get a project out that many TDE artists faced off against.
No, it's not that they were against it. It was just a lot of back and forth about what it is that I wanted to say, and do we want to go this direction? Do we want to go that direction? Do I want pop? What type of artist do I want to be? And it took me a minute to kind of figure that out.
So when you're creating, it's just you in the studio? Like,
yeah.
But on her third mixtape for the label, Doechii delivered one of the most emphatic statements since SZA's Control. On Alligator Bites Never Heal, Doechii proved her versatility. Quickly given opportunities to spread her message, the Floridian MC's fanbase just keeps growing. And soon, she got a golden cosign from Kendrick Lamar.
Oh, God.
Kendrick said you the hardest out.
He did.
How did that make you feel?
That was great. It's Kendrick. I was like, goddamn.
Has he given you that validation offline too? Like just.
We've actually never met in person. I haven't met him in person yet.
So you've never even spoken?
I've never met Kendrick.
Wow. Never met him, never spoke to him, no nothing. He just randomly posted.
Since it was announced in 2022 that Kendrick would be leaving the label, everyone wondered how TDE would survive. After all, no one brought the label to global audiences like he did.
Top Dog Brothers, Top Dog himself, us eating you out of house and home. We'll never forget that. Taking these kids out of the projects, out of Compton, and putting them right here on this stage to be the best they can be.
But where they made so many stars in a way that seemed so effortless back in the day, it's no longer going as smoothly as it did back then. Because they haven't really adapted their methods or switched things up from back then, and interestingly, their former president and now PG Lang leader, Dave Free, predicted this. None of the tactics we used back in the day to break Kendrick, Ab-Soul, J-Rock, or Schoolboy Q would work now. None of them. It's a whole new game. For streaming, they centralize. They have to post what works for their system too. It's kind of back to a radio format a little bit in a sense. At the moment, it still looks like they're trying to get to grips with this. All the while, their rep as a label that holds artists back just continues to grow. And unfortunately, it's the kind of thing that sticks unless you can really prove that you're switching things up. So let's hope that TDE can return to their former glory, because we know what they and their artists are truly capable of at their peak. It's your boy Louaista, and I want to thank y'all for watching today's video. As always, I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.